to the Community Food Project Competitive Grants Program for FY 2022. This is an informational webinar. In accordance with the Federal Civil Rights Law and U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA Civil Rights Regulations and Policies, the USDA, its agencies, offices, and employees and institutions participating in or administering USDA programs are prohibited from discriminating based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, gender identity, including gender expression, sexual orientation, disability, age, marital status, family or parental status, income derived from public assistance program, political belief, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activity in any program or activity conducted or funded by the USDA. Not all of these bases apply to all programs. Remedies and complaint filing deadlines vary by program or incident. The Community Food Competitive Grants Program has a huge team to support it. And starting with myself, we'll introduce ourselves. And my name is Lydia Kalme. I am a National Program Leader for CFP for FY 2022. And I have Donna and Beth with us today that will introduce themselves, and then we'll carry on.
Thank you, Lydia. I am Donna Fairhurst. I am a program specialist supporting community food projects. This includes answering any questions that you might have that can be sent to the shared community food projects inbox that will be shared later. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Beth Curling. I'm in NIFA's Award Management Division, so a separate division from Lydia and Donna, but our role in NIFA is to do both pre-award and post-award grants lifecycle management. So helping with award terms and conditions, administration of your award. And I also have a team of folks that help with the CFP program. Mr. Pat Martin, who couldn't be here today, will also be a part of this application cycle as you proceed. Thanks.
Thank you, Beth and Donna. And we have Ms. Brianna Buck, who is also a program specialist that will be supporting this program, as well as Shakiva Shepard, who is a program assistant and is part of the team. So today's webinar, we will cover, some overview around NIFA, the program, and we'll look at some RFA details, proposal evaluation process. The awards management division will cover pieces of what is required, and then we'll have an additional information part to share with you. So first, we start with the NIFA overview. The National Institute of Food and Agriculture, NIFA, is the extramural science funding agency within USDA's research, education, and economic mission area. NIFA invests in and supports initiatives that ensure long-term viability of agriculture. NIFA also provides funding and strategic leadership for programs that ensure groundbreaking discoveries in agriculture-related sciences and technologies that reach the people who can put them into practice. And now I'm going to share some topic areas covered by NIFA programs. So you will see we have advanced technologies, animals. NIFA covers programs with regard to business and economics, education, environment, farming and ranching, food science, health, human sciences, international work, natural resources, and plants. Next, we'll talk about the program overview. So the primary purpose of the Community Foods Program is to meet the food needs of low-income individuals through food distribution, community outreach, to assist in participation in federally assisted nutrition programs, or improving access to food as part of a comprehensive service. And also increase the self-reliance of communities in providing for the food needs of communities, as well as promote comprehensive responses to local food access, farm and nutrition issues, or meet specific state, local, or neighborhood food agriculture needs related to equipment necessary for efficient operation, planning for long-term solutions, and creation of innovative marketing activities. And you can find this pieces of information on the RFA pages of each of on these slides. We'll talk about eligibility. The organizations that are eligible for the Community Foods Projects and Planning Program grants are public food program service providers, tribal organizations, or private nonprofit entities, including gleaners meeting the following 3 requirements with experience in the area of community food work, particularly small and medium-sized farms, job training and business development for food-related activities in low-income communities, and efforts to reduce food insecurity in the community, including food distribution, improving access to services, or coordinating services. Eligibility also indicates that organizations need to demonstrate competency to implement projects, provide fiscal accountability. They should have the ability to collect data and prepare reports. Organizations need to be able to demonstrate a willingness to share information with researchers, evaluators, practitioners, and other interested parties. And organizations that apply to the CFP program should show ability to collaborate with one or more local partner organizations to achieve at least one hunger-free community's goal. As part of eligibility too, CFP Community Foods Projects and Planning Projects awards are encouraged to seek and create partnerships with public or private, nonprofit and for-profit entities. And this would include links with academic institutions and other professionals, community-based organizations, and local government entities. Now, next, we'll talk about the types of grants that are offered through this program. So we have standard grants, but the project types are 2. There is the project grant and a planning grant, but those grants are both known as standard grants. Project and grant type description. Project grants, we have an average of 298 over 36 to 48 months. There's a maximum of 125,000 over 12 months and 400,000 over 48 months. And CFP funds are supposed to be a one-time infusion of dollars to keep a community sustainable. Planning grants go only up to 35,000, and the average amount in the last 25 years program is it has been about 25,000 for 12 to 36 months. Let's talk about the activities that are funded by this program. So CFP funds activities to fight food insecurity through developing community projects to promote self-sufficiency of vulnerable communities, and also activities that bring whole food systems together to create sustainable community self-reliance. More on the activities that are funded. Preference will be given to community foods projects and planning projects that are designed to develop connections between two or more sectors of the food system, support the development of entrepreneurial projects, develop innovative connections between for-profit and non-profit sectors, and encourage long-term planning activities. More on the activities that are funded, we continue with this in the next slide, which are we are encouraging projects that develop new resources and strategies to help reduce food insecurity in the community. And we encourage those projects that also prevent food insecurity in the community in the future by developing creative food resources, coordinating food services with park and recreation programs, and other community-based outlets such as summer feeding programs, or creating nutrition education programs for at-risk populations to enhance food purchasing and food prep skills. Examples are the FNAP and SNAP opportunities. Additionally, for this RFA, we are encouraging applicants that will use a system approach to address social determinants of health and increase the capacity of communities to build a more sustainable, resilient, equitable, and nourishing food system in the community. We are also encouraging and will give preference to projects that prioritize nutrition security and critical current and future effects of climate change in food systems. And this is in response to definitely the climate change and climate issues that we are experiencing. You can find this information on page 11 of the RFA. So next we'll talk about some examples of community foods activities that are funded. So this will give you a much granular way to think about the activities. So CFP will fund projects such as establishing community gardens with market stands, value chain projects, food hubs, farmers markets, farm to institution projects, and marketing and consumer cooperatives, and projects of that nature. All projects, however, must involve low-income participants from design to implementation and sustainability. They got to be, the applications that review well for CFP do show that the low-income participants are involved in every part of the development and implementation of that proposal. Other examples of CFP planning activities. This is for planning grants. So a planning grant can be to do a food assessment, coordinate a collaborative or develop a collaboration or coalition, do GIS analysis, do food sovereignty studies, or farm to institution exploration. And again, all projects must involve low-income participants. So next we'll talk about application details. The RFA language has been modified for FY22 to make it clearer. The current RFA published will be for FY22 and FY23 to make it clearer for applicants and easier for them to understand what the program will be looking at for the initial screening. We have established a checklist, which can be found on page 20 of the RFA. That checklist will be used for an administrative screening of all proposals. So it's a list of about 22 pieces of information that need to be on your application. So please pay attention to that checklist. However, pay attention to the entire RFA, because the checklist is not the entire RFA, but it's just been developed to assist with the making sure as you develop your RFA, your application, that everything that's needed is on there that will be screened. New to the RFA as well is some definitions. With the inclusion of social determinants of health and food systems, those definitions have also been included. And the program description and evaluation criteria, we've added some language to ensure that we are prioritizing nutrition security and critical current and future effects of climate change on food systems in that language. So those are some key differences between the previous RFA and the current RFA. So other application details. So the RFA is available online on the link provided. The application deadline is sometime between November and December of 2021. All applicants will submit those applications and proposals through grants.gov. The total funding available is 4.8 million for both 4.8 million for FY22 and 4.8 million for FY23. And then the program codes, these are very, very important for when you're submitting your application. You want to pay attention to this program code. So if you are submitting a community food project grant application, the code is LNC. If it's a planning grant, or it's written as a planning project, but it's a planning grant, then it's LNB. So please pay attention to those codes. They're very important in the screening process as well, and for making sure that the application goes to the right pile. The number of proposals per institution or per organization is 1. So you can only put in 1 application per organization. We'll continue to talk about some important and pertinent details about the RFA. So we get a lot of questions on project narrative, the page limit, and we've clarified that in the current RFA to ensure that applicants know you've got 10 pages of text and 5 pages of tables and figures, and that will be strictly enforced. 1.5 spacing is 1.5 spacing, that is again strictly enforced. The 12 points no smaller than 11 points in Times New Roman, Arial, or Calibri. That includes for text and figures and tables. So when you do this in Word, make sure that you have the right font size, and then all the materials definitely need to be in PDF in the end, but all this formatting can be easily done in Word. The project narrative needs to be within the 15 pages allowable, and anything exceeding that page limit won't be returned without review. Then we also do get quite a bit of questions with the data management plan, so I'm going to talk a bit about that. So NIFA requires that the program will have a data management plan, or investigators or PDs or applicants must provide a detailed up to 2 pages plan on how they will manage data. So what kind of data are you hoping to collect? What the data format, what's the data, how you're going to store that data, how you're going to keep it safe, how you're going to share it, how are you intending to protect it for, and how you are going to make sure that public has access to the the information that you can share, and who is responsible for that data. We have also provided some templates and some resources for the preparation of a data management plan and at the CFP website. So at our program page, you can find some templates. Next is the logic model. So as I start the logic model, I want to also reiterate that the data management plan is required and the logic model is required for CFP. And the logic model is just a conceptual tool for planning and evaluation. You want to make sure that it shows, it has all the components of planning, how management, accountability, and evaluation. Again, feel free to look up a resource on a logic model. A template is also available on our program website for those who are unfamiliar with how to create one. So next we'll talk about how do you submit. So NIFA only accepts electronic submission of applications, and that will be through the grants.gov, and there is an application guide available that you can also download that will be useful. And this is a picture of that application guide for you as a resource. Next, we'll talk about proposed evaluation process. So in this portion of the webinar, we're going to focus on how proposals are evaluated. We get lots of questions about how NIFA does this process, how will my proposal be evaluated, and how will I get to know that I've been awarded or not. So this is a rundown of what happens. So proposals are assigned a review to at least 3 reviewers with expertise in the proposed topic. Then reviewers produce individual reviews at for each of the proposals, evaluating the strengths and weaknesses. These are then, these written reviews are used to begin a panel discussion with other reviewers serving in the peer review panel. And then through the discussions, the peer review panelists come to a consensus on the final rating and the ranking of proposals. So that's NIFA's review process, and then notifications are provided after that through NIFA. And then I'm going to talk about then, so what criteria do these reviewers use to review the CFP proposals? The criteria, you will find it on page 21 through 24 of the RFA. Please read the entire criteria more than once before you start writing up the application, because this will give you some really good tips and ideas of what the application is all about and what the evaluators will be looking for. So the first criteria here, and this is an abbreviated version, the RFA will have details with bullets for each one of this. So it's very encouraged that you go through them. So I'll just go very briefly through this criteria. So the first criteria really is to look at appropriateness of the goals, purposes, and outcomes of the project, and how these goals will be achieved to invest in building the assets of the community and the capacities of the applicant and its low-income partners. Then the next criteria is how well the proposed project assists applicants. eligible entities, and others in understanding the primary goal of CFP. And third, how significant are the low-income food security issues that are being addressed by the proposed project, and is there an informative description of the community and its characteristics, assets, and needs? The criteria continues. Reviewers will be looking at if the applicant has a relevant experience for the proposed project, including the type and extent of support that other organizations will be providing that are being pulled into the project. They'll be looking at the viability of plans for planning projects. When it's a planning project, it's held to almost the same standards, only that it's a plan rather than a whole project. So it needs to indicate that it can achieve self-sufficiency. If it is a project, it needs to achieve self-sufficiency after a one-time infusion of federal funds. There is to be evidence through that narrative that is provided that the project is likely to become self-sustaining. And this can be done through a market analysis or outlines of business plans that can be provided with the application as well. Another criteria is the strength of the proposed project evaluation component and how it will contribute to the CFP evaluation on national basis. So we are looking at impacts of CFP in communities, and one of the evaluation criteria for your proposal will be how are you evaluating your own work or your own projects throughout its life cycle. Another criteria is the timeline for accomplishing the project goals, objectives, and outcomes. Are they realistic? Are they achievable? All these are important when looking at the application. Next, I'll talk about the timeline for competitive programs. So you want to know how quickly from the time you apply, and you will get a response from NIFA. So here, I'll explain that in a minute. So the timeline of competitive programs, it takes about 1 to 2 months from the time of request for application, and then proposal being written and the planning, and then the proposals are due 1 to 2 months. So once the opportunity is out, it can be 1 to 2 months for it to be out, and then you have 2 to 3 months for the proposal to be reviewed, and then awards are finalized in another 1 to 2 months. So we are talking about 3 to 5 months from proposal due date to an awarding time. Award being made to your organization. So for planning purposes, I think you'll find that valuable. So here comes the time when I talk about some additional information, and I'm very happy to say I will not spend much time on this additional information because it's all very currently put on our program website. So very quickly go through this. So on our program website, if you want to know what kind of programs that have been funded, what kind of projects have been funded under CFP, you will find a link there, and it will take you to just CFP projects and planning projects as well that have been funded, and you can look at their goals and objectives, and then you can that can be helpful for you as you plan for your own proposal. Then we have upcoming events. Please click on those links on our upcoming events, and you will be able to know, webinars like this or RFA deadlines as needed. Other resources are also listed on our program website. So go there and find what you need in terms of guides and what kind of information you might be needing with regard to like the DMT, the logic model that we talked about, and other templates that you might need. And so I'm going to end there. And again, just bringing our team back here to let you know that we are here to assist you. And the email that is on the screen can be used to reach the program team.